Hey everybody, this is a tutorial and walkthrough on how to create the instrumental music for the song Green Light by Lorde. And what I have here is basically the lead in into the chorus, so like part of the verse and the chorus. So if you can get this part, then basically you pretty much know most of the song and can probably work it all out from there. And by the way, I really did this all from ear, so I tried to approximate the instruments as closely as I could. And the other cool thing is I actually used essentially all instruments and plugins that are available through Logic Pro. I did cheat a little with a couple of plugins for the mastering channel, but other than that, those mastering plugins are from Stillwell Audio. And yeah, other than that, it's all Logic plugins and instruments. So first and foremost, what you're going to want to do before anything else is set your tempo. And the tempo of this song, I believe, is 129, and I used an online BPM counter. You can just Google one and tap out the tempo. So we got 129. And the other next thing to do is to figure out what tracks you need to set up. So I broke it down into, we have our various piano parts, our drums, with the kick especially being emphasized, and those claps that come in the chorus. The various different bass parts and kind of big full synth parts. The string part, synth strings. And then just a couple of additional kind of pad choir sounds just to fill things out. And that makes up for all the different pieces that I used. So let's just go through and I'll play you the individual parts. And actually the other thing that you're going to want to make sure to know is the actual music of the song and the chord progression. And if you know this chord progression, G, D, A, that's basically what the whole song is doing. And of course, if you know a little bit of piano or music theory, you can probably figure out how to transpose this music. And so I'll leave this MIDI up here too if you want to freeze this at any point and basically try to get those notes that I'm using. But yeah, here's that main piano part soloed up. So this is kind of the right hand part. Yeah, and that just keeps repeating. And you can probably hear that I have a bus set up with a little bit of delay and some reverb on there too, just to make it sound all nice and big. The next track, I kind of just separated out. This is kind of the left-hand track, and this is the harmony piano part that I could just kind of hear in the midst of everything else. So this is what this sounds like. And we'll put those together and you get this. And then finally we have this lower octave. So these are just octaves with those three main notes, the G, D, and A. And I kind of fade these in gradually. And then let's put it all together here. So by the way, the instrument that I used, this is with the EXS24 sampler. This is the sampler plugin that comes with Logic. And it's just the grand piano or the Yamaha grand piano patch. And the only things that I adjusted with it was the cutoff, which that's kind of like a low pass filter, or in other words, it kind of like can dim down the brightness. So you can adjust that cutoff to taste. And yeah, so for all three piano parts, I use that Yamaha grand piano. All right, so now let's go down to the drums. And the kit that I use, this is an Ultra Beat, and this is one of the preset kits, which is the vintage '09 kit. So this is kind of like that classic 909 sound. And for the main kick drum part, it is quite simply just one kick every beat of the song. Just like so. And yeah, with a lot of these, I just did a little bit of EQ. Like, for example, with this kick, I bumped up the mid-range a little bit because it kind of sounded like it had a little mid-range boost to it. And then when I get to the chorus, I added a little more complexity. I think my cat's going crazy over here. With a hi-hat, kind of a fast hi-hat, and then a couple more kick drum parts and also the snare drum in there. So here is just the chorus rhythm part. And then here is that with the kick also added in. So yeah, there's just a little bit more going on with the kick. So those are all those 909 kits. And then finally, I added more claps, which are kind of the main, you can think of it like the snare drum part. And what I did with this is, all these are, I'll just show you just the clap. And that's just one of the clap sounds from the 909 kit, but I altered each one and panned them really wide. And so by layering all those claps, it kind of creates this really cool effect with a bunch of them happening at the same time. And you can see like I added a little distortion here and even delayed one of them a little bit. So this is just kind of all playing around until you find a sound that sounds cool. So here's the claps again. And those are just looped throughout the chorus. And now here's the whole thing put together with the percussion part. All right. And then the only other thing I did for drums, you can hear it also, I routed through the reverb and that sort of thing to give it more spaciousness. The one other part is the big drum fill, and I wanted to, try to recreate that real intense drum fill as it's leading into that chorus. And so what I used was actually also Ultra Beat, but this time I used the Indie Live kit. And the toms on that, I added a lot of reverb, and they sound nice and big. And, oh yeah, so there's that. And then also a little bit of channel EQ. To enhance, again, the mid-range and low-end, but take out some of that high-end, so almost kind of a low-pass filter. And here's what that sounds like just by itself. Yeah, so we add some intensity. So here's the whole thing. And by the way, I'll pull that tom part up so you can see it. There it is. And here's the whole thing now. So that's the tom fill. All right, so that covers our drums. Now we move on to the bass, the bass. And the main bass part is this muted bass. And let me show you. This is actually with the retro synth plugin that comes with Logic. I think this is fairly new, but yeah, I just went to the muted bass preset, I believe. And again, I'm just using, just like those octaves, it's that G, D, A progression, and just held out nice and long. So here's this nice smooth sound you get out of that. Nice. And then in the chorus, of course, it gets a lot more intense. And so what I did was I actually took that same bass line, make sure I'm on my other bass, and this time I played around a lot to find this sound. I'm sure you'll be able to search around and try to find something that you like. But I ended up going with the ES2 polyphonic synth plugin, and this preset was the retro fuzz bass, and I think I adjusted it a little bit. But if you put that together with the muted bass on the chorus, you get this. Oh yeah, so intense. You could do a little dubstep with that, I think. And other than that, the rest is just kind of some extra layers on top. So I have this string part. These are turned way down in the mix, but this is just with the sampler. Again, the EXS24. This is strings 2. Here's what that sounds like. So this is just a held out A. That's all we got here. And finally, I kind of put in this this sound to lead into Sizzle Morpher. I like that name. So this leads into the chorus, and then there it is. And then there's kind of these chorusy sounds to fill out the background. I'm going to hit the automation button here, and don't get overwhelmed, but I did a bunch of volume automation and automated a few other things. I noticed that this track, it really relies on the balance between all the various different elements. So I just kind of tweaked the levels of various things as I went through, and you can sort of do this all to taste. Let's just play this one more time, and we'll lead it into the chorus. You can watch the whole thing in action. On solo. And there you have it. So pretty close estimation of Green Light by Lorde. Just a side note with the stereo output bus, I do a little bit of processing with EQ to brighten things up. I actually have a stereo spread effect on here, which is kind of a nice just way to make it sound wider. So we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and check out future videos. Please feel free to ask me any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to help. See you next time.